measures tonight unless we establish that quorum.
That's fine. I don't think that this particular spreadsheet requires any kind of vote whatsoever. It's just helping to separate the recommendations into the two categories. If that helps.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you for that. Are you able to kind of walk through each point? I'm on my way to a call right now.
Okay. So I took each of the recommendations and used the categories that were already created in the report itself and just listed each recommendation alongside that category. So the first category is pretty general. There was one recommendation that fell under the general list, and it was a formal reparative apology is necessary and should recognize the gross injustices on African Americans in Wilmington and pay tribute to all victims. And the question is this something that's actionable by City Council, or is this something that they would have to advocate for with the county or state governments? And I think this one is actionable, but I would be open to anyone else's perspective.
Well, first of all, I think that it's also actionable. And as I said the last meeting, I think that the House Joint Resolution 10 is an excellent structure to look at as we determine what type of apology we might want from the City of Wilmington.
Okay. I'm just typing it up. I'm not ignoring you. For guidance. Okay. I got it. So use the House bill to get a sense of what kind of apology we're looking for.
Yes,
Okay.
the structure of an apology.
Yep.
That's all. Mm-hmm.
Perfect. The second one that's on here is actually one that came up during last week's discussion, and that was the Wilmington City Council Reparation Task Force should be established as a standing quasi-government corporation in the same way that the Wilmington Economic Development Corporation and other corporations exist. And if so, it will be able to carry out the policies and implement these programs that have been suggested along the lines of Black Wall Street. So the question becomes, is that something that's actionable by City Council, or is that something that requires another government agency to determine?
I think it is actionable by Wilmington City Council. And because that is the way that they created the other quasi-government
Okay.
organizations.
Okay. Is everyone in agreement with that that's on the call?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Awesome, thank you. The third one is use the Voluntary Disclosure Act or ask the General Assembly to utilize on our behalf to determine which of the million-dollar corporations in Delaware are still benefiting from the vestiges of slavery and involuntary servitude. The money that, it says then request the money to pay for this because the city may not have the financial resources to support the work, but these monies could actually support the reparations and the vestiges for the vestiges of slavery. So,
And I did make that recommendation.
yes.
But I think that what I'd like to add to that is that, as I was just sharing, the City of Wilmington is in the process of losing 500 jobs from the Bank of America because they're planning to move out in 2025. I think a year or so ago, Barclays Bank also moved 500 jobs, and I think that the Wilmington Port Marine Terminal is in the process of losing over 200 warehouse jobs. Well, when these jobs leave the City of Wilmington, we're looking at a loss of wage tax. And I think that this could be a discussion with the General Assembly,
Brother Dwight,
yes,
can you speak into the microphone, please?
okay, yes. Can you hear me now?
Got most of everything what you said.
You want me to repeat it? The city of Wilmington, as has been reported, is in the process of losing over 500 jobs, where the Bank of America has said they are planning to move these jobs out of the city. By these jobs leaving the city, it's a loss of wage tax, We could very well be negotiating with the General Assembly to increase the percentage of the city's part of wage tax because of this loss. And we could also look at those corporations who only have a domain existence under the Voluntary Disclosure Act, to see if we could negotiate a sort of a wage tax or revenue sharing for them that would help to fund this quasi-government, reparations implementation committee. That's just something that came in my mind as we were just speaking about alternatives to funding.
Okay. All right, got that one typed up. Okay, perfect. But when we think about working with the General Assembly, is that something that City Council can do or take action on themselves? Or do they, it sounds like they have to work with another government agency to get this done.
Yes, they would probably have to send a resolution asking for the General Assembly to take action on a certain item.
State level, yes?
Yes, state level.
Okay, just wanted to make sure, okay.
But in addition to that, I think that the city does have doesn't the city have a paid lobbyist?
The city of Wilmington has a paid lobbyist,
Yeah.
but the city council
No,
does not have their own
no, the city of
individual
Wilmington.
lobbyist at this moment.
Okay,
There is discussion about that changing, but as of right now, they do not.
okay.
Okay. All right, cool. The next one is build intergenerational equity among African American residents. And now we're in the category of economic disparities. I guess I should speak into the microphone as well. So is that something that the city council is able to take action on, or do they have to advocate with another agency?
I don't understand the question.
I don't understand this statement.
I don't understand the
This
question.
recommendation, it seems very high level and vague to me. I'm gonna skip.
Yeah, I feel
I'm
like
skipping.
you can push it either way, honestly.
Yeah. We're gonna,
Shawnee, I and council or chairman, I'm curious if we're going to be presenting these recommendations as written, because I do think that that is vague and we might need to add more specificity there.
I agree with you with that. So maybe we highlight that one and kind of do a little deeper dive when it comes to that one.
so, and I know you can't see this, Kobe, but I did highlight that particular one, but Alicia, I agree with you. And what I'm thinking is that perhaps we can use this as a place where we can rewrite the recommendations if we anticipate that some specificity has to be added. So I can create another column really quickly and just say, hey, rewrite or edited version. And if, as you're going through, if you see some opportunities for us to update the way it's written, please feel free to chime in and add that in there. Does that work?
Works with me.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'll just leave that as a placeholder. Okay, awesome. The next one is create a Black Wall Street economics development program in African American neighborhoods in Wilmington.
Let me speak to that because Representative, former Mayor James Baker and I have been having that discussion and we were looking at a model, West Center City as being a possible model for a Black Wall Street concept. But I also think that since it is conceptual, it could very well, include other parts of the city. And I think Logan Heron and what they're doing in the Northeast also can be incorporated into this model for a Black Wall Street. So I think that the quasi-government entity that we're discussing could very well take on that challenge as well, to create a Black Wall Street conceptual model. It's just my thoughts on that.
So to that end, you think it's something that city council can take action on?
Absolutely, I think they can.
Okay,
Yes, I do.
okay. Is everyone in agreement on that one? Okay, I'll keep moving. Create and fund professional career trainings for African Americans. Anyone chime in on who owns that one?
I don't know what that means.
Okay. I'm going to keep going until y'all stop me.
Okay.
Invest in capacity building programs for the existing African American businesses in Wilmington in order to help them excel. Anyone?
I had suggested in a conversation that, I had suggested in a conversation with Councilperson Michelle Harley that the Wilmington Conservancy Land Bank was not designed to be a city-funded agency forever. It was only designed for a limited, specified period of time, and that we should look at the appropriations going to the Wilmington Land Bank and maybe divert some of those dollars to what it is you just said that we need to consider doing.
Brother Dwight, I just want to clarify a point you said, because it's still a little hard to hear. You said the Wilmington Land Bank, correct?
That's correct. The Wilmington Conservancy Land Bank is being funded annually by the city of Wilmington. And if you get an opportunity to look at the enabling legislation that allowed the city to create the land bank, by now, the Wilmington Conservancy Land Bank should be self-supporting and should not need an additional appropriations in the city line item budget. So we should look at that and maybe divert some of those dollars to what we're talking about implementing through the Reparations Task Force. That's the conversation I had with the Vice Chair of City Council Finance Committee, Michelle Harley, this week.
So then I'm going to put on here that city council, that's an actionable item for
Yes.
city council. Okay. Next one, provide guaranteed income program for descendants of African Americans. I don't know that makes sense to me. I'm going to skip that one. The August quarterly should be supported as a major program for Wilmington. City council? Anyone chime in? That's what I thought, okay. Build community schools in Wilmington rather than busing.
That's out of our purview.
Yep, I'm gonna put that as state. That's not something that city council can decide. Okay.
Shawnee, I think going back to the guaranteed income,
Mhm.
that's probably something that would have to be advocated for at the federal level or state level, so I would say no.
Okay. Thank you. I've populated that as such. Thanks, Alicia. The next is encourage the teaching of African American history in schools on Channel 22 and DETV in collaboration with Historical Society.
So DETV and Channel 22 is city council, the schools is state. Yes, please.
Okay. Hold on 1 second. I'm adding a comment. All right.
First of all, I think it should be American history rather than African American history. Because there is no American history. I mean, African American history if it wasn't for the institution of slavery. So they're both joined at the hip. So I think if we call it American history, we could probably get a lot more support than if we just call it African American history.
So how would you feel about encourage the teaching of American history inclusive of African American history?
Absolutely.
Okay, so I'll change it to that. Okay, sorry. All right. Okay, so I'll change that one, that's easy. The next one is establish education centers that provide instruction to Black students and care while parents are working.
Could you read that again?
Yep. Establish education centers that provide instruction to Black students and care while parents are working.
I don't think that we.
I feel like this is something that might be an action that could be supported by city council, maybe through funding to nonprofit organizations that have ownership and ensuring that they're established and continue to implement. I'm not quite sure that that would fall under the purview of city council.
Okay.
I'm not sure if others feel differently though.
Okay. So then I'll say it's not actionable for city council, but they can work with the county or the state.
I think we could identify, you know,
Just for clarity,
agencies.
Shani, I'm saying, I think that they could probably support it.
Okay.
through funding. I just don't know that city council would own that responsibility of establishing education centers. I'm thinking that that could be a responsibility of a nonprofit, a grassroots organization that could receive funding from city
Okay.
council to
Okay.
implement.
I can agree with that.
Got you.
Mhm.
So hold on. City council can provide funding to a community org that develops and oversees.
Yes, I think it's just the verbiage rather than establish, maybe support education centers that provide instruction.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And I'll take the first stab at editing these and send it out to everybody. I did put it in our shared drive, but I'll send the link out so everybody has access to it. Okay, the next one is establish safe schools in collaboration with the 4 school districts and the Wilmington Learning Collaborative.
I think we're already doing that, correct?
I think so. I think so. I think that's one of the things that they have not, the WLC has not formally, they haven't completed it, but I think something is on the radar.
Mm-hmm.
Expand programs to recognize youth achievers in all fields. Wait, somebody has a comment that I missed. Kobe, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to skip that one. And I'm going to mark it as, I'm going to highlight it because it just needs some rewrite. I'm gonna rewrite this one too. All right, boom. Okay, expand scholarships to help young African Americans in Wilmington get into colleges and provide assistance that helps them stay in college.
Actionable.
Or trade school.
I like that. We can really just call it post-secondary education, but I'll leave it at that. Boom, yes, and that's done. All right, give kids the opportunity to be involved in art education and create programs that involve men in the lives of children in positive ways.
That's real broad.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this is, for me, the same feedback. I think that city council could support community orgs that are doing this work.
Got it. Okay. Provide incentives to Black teachers that want to live and teach in Wilmington.
I think that needs to be handled at the state level. State Department of Education. Because we don't have any incentives.
No.
With teachers that want to live in Wilmington.
Okay. So for those who may not have been able to hear Brother Dwight, he recommended that we put that at the state level because that's not something that we at the city level can incentivize the Black teachers to do.
Thanks.
Okay. The next one is reconsider going back to, we already talked about busing, community schools versus busing. So I'm going to hide that one. Okay, support early childhood education for African American children in Wilmington.
I think that goes without saying. That's your Wilmington Learning Collaborative. So we're already doing that.
Yep. And I use the same comments, Alicia, that you said before, that city council could support organizations that are doing that work. Unless you feel differently.
I think that.
I was like, oh, wow, no? Okay.
My daughter agrees.
All right, the next one is increase green space access and recreation opportunities in African American communities in Wilmington.
Could you read that again?
Sure can. Increase green space access and recreation opportunities in African American communities in Wilmington.
I agree with that. That's I think Renata spoke about the DENREC brownfields program.
That's actually the next one. So the next one said partner with DENREC, the
Right.
STEM agency, to clean up all the brownfields in the city of Wilmington as they have funds to clean those brownfields.
Right.
So I have that on there next. And I have a feeling that they're probably going to be the same, we'll have the same selections, but these seem like ones that you would have to advocate for at another level as opposed to taking action with city council. Is that fair?
I felt like I heard Chairman Owens come off and say that it was actionable by city council. I don't know if he's able to get to the mic though.
Oh, I didn't hear him, I'm sorry.
Say it one more time.
Alicia said that she thought she heard you say that these are actionable by city council.
The green space, yes, it is.
The green space, okay. And then how about partnering with DENREC to clean up the brownfields?
Yes, that's city council as well too. They can initiate it.
And then I put DENREC on there as well, since they'll be working with them. So I clicked state agency, okay. Okay, test for and eliminate toxicity in African American communities. That's environmental, by the way.
Oh, okay. I I think that I think the city of Wilmington should partner with the Route 9 corridor environmental group and the Claymont environmental group, Representative Larry Lambert's group, that they are recipients of the Bezos Foundation grants. It goes from the Route 9 corridor up to Claymont, but I think it excludes the city of Wilmington. So we should try to partner with a memorandum of understanding with those two respective groups.
Okay. Include Wilmington. All right. So I put city council for that, and I also noted in comments the partner with the Route 9 Corridor Environmental Group and Claymont Environmental Group because of they're recipients of the Bezos Foundation grant. So we wanted to include Wilmington, so I got it. Okay. All right, so the next category is health disparities. And the first recommendation is to establish and fund community wellness centers in African American communities in Wilmington.
Well, we have them already established. You have Westside Health and St. Francis and Christiana Care. The city has already given $3.57 million to St. Francis for ambulance service. So then we have Henrietta Johnson Center. So I think we need to encourage city residents to utilize these healthcare facilities rather than establishing them, because they're already established.
Okay. So I put down here, yes, this is something that's actionable by city council, but it's already done or being funded.
Yes,
And we need to encourage residents to use them.
yes.
Okay, got it. The next one is establish healthcare service programs in African American communities and provide scholarships for more African Americans in Wilmington to go to healthcare trainings.
I think that's pretty inclusive of what the last one.
Okay, that's done.
I think let's separate the recommendations because they feel distinct. So have one for the health service programs and then another for scholarships.
Got it. But you probably see that, so got that one. And for the scholarships, Alicia, is that something that you feel is actionable by city council? Or would we have to work with another agency?
I think it could be actionable.
Okay. And these are just the recommendations. They may come back and say, no, we can't do that, so. Okay. Provide and improve the healthcare services for senior African Americans in Wilmington.
Now, that's not something that city council can do.
You may not have heard that, but Brother Dwight said this is not something that city council can do.
I agree.
Okay.
I agree too.
So is that something they should advocate for at the county or state level?
I think it would have
I
to be,
believe state.
yeah, I agree.
Okay. You all are making this too easy.
Okay, we can do something about that.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
I'm just kidding.
That's why we should go ahead and pivot to the next one. It says trauma and mental health resources, so let's not cause any trauma. That one really wasn't elaborated on, and it hasn't been fleshed out as a full recommendation yet. but I know that it was mentioned last week during the meeting, and so I wanted to make sure we had a placeholder for it, because I know Dr. Leandra is working with Gabe to create a recommendation for this one. We can wait until that's fleshed out before we make any suggestions about what's actionable.
Okay.
So, the next section is housing disparities, and the first recommendation is establish a Wilmington Reparations Housing Fund to increase home ownership of African Americans through subsidized down payment, mortgages, and home ownership insurance.
I agree, and I think that is something that can be done through the Wilmington Conservancy Land Bank, because presently, they have an inventory of several hundred houses that could be immediately made available for that project.
Okay.
Brother Dwight, can I ask a quick question?
Yes,
The Wilmington Land Bank, does this jurisdiction lie solely in the city of Wilmington?
the Wilmington Conservancy Land Bank, I think it was structured specifically for the city of Wilmington, but I guess we'd have to meet with land bank officials and find out whether or not they're actually obeying that jurisdictional restriction.
All right, thank you, bro.
So we're saying, yes, this is actionable by city council?
It is.
Okay.
I do think it's actionable, but I would just want to be mindful that we don't limit ourselves to only land-based housing. I don't think that's what Brother
No.
Rydell Davis was saying,
No.
but for the person who's gonna be writing those recommendations and stuff like that.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think with that, individuals should be able to go to this fund to get the assistance needed to get a house anywhere within the city of Wilmington.
Okay. All right, just making some notes. The next one is provide property tax relief to African Americans in Wilmington.
I think property tax relief is already available for seniors that have a certain income threshold.
So one of the things I know we have to consider is anytime you're making a recommendation that's going to result in a revenue loss for the city, you have to also make a recommendation of how we're going to actually get that revenue from another source.
Right.
And I don't know at this time, not that it will never happen, but at this time, I don't know that we have another revenue source to replace that tax. So though it's something that I know that the task force talked about, we do have to think about that as well.
Well, bringing more of the vacant and abandoned houses online helps to increase the revenue source.
All right, I'm gonna leave that one for now.
Okay.
Because that's a tough one. The next one is the Wilmington Reparations Housing Fund should increase rental support through down payment assistance, security deposit assistance, and utilities payment.
You said rental support?
That's council.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, it's rental support.
Okay.
And yes, I got you. Okay. And then the next one, same thing, Wilmington Reparations Housing Fund should revitalize, preserve, and stabilize African American owner-occupied homes.
City council.
Alicia, were you about to say something too? Okay. All right, next one. Assess and remedy racially biased treatment of African American adults and juveniles in Delaware correctional facilities.
I think that's the state.
Mm-hmm. Okay. The next one, and this is all under legal injustice. The next one is eliminate barriers for African American prospective attorneys by funding legal education of African American children in Wilmington.
I don't understand what that means.
Mm.
Do we have any African American attorneys
Do
in
we-
Wilmington?
Yes.
Okay,
We'll just skip that one for now.
okay.
All right, establish a robust, positive communication with the aggrieved African American community leaders in Wilmington.
Aggrieved African American leaders?
That's exactly what it says. I wouldn't make that up.
Where are they?
Now, first, just know that we can rewrite that so it doesn't
Okay.
have to read that way.
No, I don't,
But I think if I'm capturing the spirit of what it's trying to say is creating a communication channel with African American community leaders that is that results in positive communication.
well, I would say with community leaders, African American community leaders, that's a shame. I shouldn't have to be thinking that. But we received assistance from non-African American leaders equally, if not more, than African American leaders in a lot of social issues. So I think it should just be a broad stroke of community leaders, as defined by who? That's a rhetorical question. I'll leave that one alone.
Okay. All right. The next one is invest more funds in community violence intervention programs and strengthen community police relation to build public trust.
That's federal.
Shani, I think that could be separated too. I see those as distinct, but both actionable by city council.
I actually knew you were going to say that because I agree.
How would that be actionable by city council?
Alicia, I think that one's for you.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you could hear Brother Dwight.
I cannot.
Oh, he said, how do you envision that could be actionable by city council?
I think that there are opportunities to explore, sorry, I've got two babies crying, to explore truth and reconciliation with police departments, and also opportunities to work with communities to determine how they could build trust with communities. So I don't have a specific example, but I think that there's opportunities to start to really hone in on how we can improve relationships with community and the police.
Oh, I agree with that. Okay.
So the one you're talking about is actionable, just for clarity, Alicia, is the strengthen community police relations to build public trust, right? Oh, I'm sorry. The one you're saying is actionable by city council is the strengthen community police relations to build trust, public trust, yes?
I think both that and investing in community violence interventions could be actionable.
Okay. Okay.
I agree with that, especially with the community violence intervention, especially creating like an office of violence prevention in the city, like they've done up in Philadelphia, could go a long way in addressing some of the ongoing gang and group violence that we're seeing.
Okay. Well, I've captured that, and we just have two more. The next one is mandate policies and training on bias-free policing in Wilmington.
How do you do that?
That's city council. And I couldn't hear what Brother Dwight said.
How would city council do that?
Did you hear him that time?
Why? How could they do that?
Yes.
So it's a few different ways that they can do that. One, they have oversight over the Wilmington Police Department. They can advocate for policies to be put in place, additional training when it comes to implicit and explicit biases of officers. They can also require that the Wilmington Police expand their recruitment efforts, right? And we know that they've been struggling with that over the years as well too, but putting it pen to paper, I think, is something that could either be used as a tool to hold them more accountable to doing that, to make sure it's being done in an equitable way. And outside of that, I mean, you can bring in different experts. So I know that Mayor Dennis Williams had brought in former police commissioner in Philly, Ramsey, as well as had an advisor, Jim Nolan, who was a former Wilmington police officer, who's the chair of the sociology department at the West Virginia University, but still lives in Wilmington, Delaware. Well, lives in Delaware. I don't know if he still is it.
Any other thoughts or discussion? Okay. The last one is prohibit cash bail and mandate that those who are acquitted or exonerated be reimbursed by the entity at fault.
That's not something city council can do.
I think that's state-based.
Mm-hmm. I'd agree. Now, I will share this with everyone. That was the last one that I have on the list. But I do know that, again, Renata and Dr. Leandra have been working with Gabe to add a few more recommendations. I am going to make sure that those recommendations are added to the spreadsheet in the proper category. I can highlight them in a color to let you know that these are the new ones. So, and I'll call that out in the spreadsheet itself. But number one, if you have any kind of recommended changes to the recommendation, how it's written, I've created a column C, and I'll highlight that in the spreadsheet, where you can go in and make the changes that you think should be made. In addition to that, if there are any that you think should be split, and I know we talked about some of that today, please feel free to split them, and then we can to use those very clearly defined recommendations in the report itself. But as far as the ones that are on the spreadsheet right now, we have categorized almost all of them, which is good. We made a lot of progress today. There are a few that are we still have yet to clarify, but I think in general we're in a good place. And I turn it back over to you, Chair.
Thank you for that. I think we can move to the public comment section of this. Shani, is there anyone there in person? We can start with them first to give public comment. 3 minutes.
Just our rock star, but she's shaking her head. No.
All right. If there's anyone who is online who would like to give public comment, please raise your hand. I don't see any as of right now. So going once, going twice, and seeing none, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
All right, there's a motion to adjourn. Is there a second?
Okay.
All those who want to leave, say aye.
All right.
Aye. All those who want to stay, say no. We are adjourned. The ayes have it.
Okay, thank you.
Have a good night, everyone.
Thank
night.
you.
Good night.
Y'all are silly.